So we need to create another table or another entity so that we can hold the settings. In this case, hold the measurement, I should say, of whether it's imperial or metric. So let's go back to our project, and inside of our models here, I'm going to create yet another class, Kotlin class. That's going to be just a data class. Let's call this unit, okay? Because it's going to be representing unit of measurement. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is an entity. So same thing we did with favorite, and table name called settings TBL. All right, so I'm going to start by saying at null, or non-null, I should say, at non-null. And this is going to be at primary key as well. And I'm going to make this a column, info, the name is going to be unit. So we're just going to have one column, or one, in this case, variable or property. So it's going to val unit, it's going to just be a string. Okay, very simple. Again, we could have done this using a simpler data structure that allows us to save pieces of data, but because we are looking into database, and that's just fine, we can just use the database. All right, that's it. Now, because we created this entity, a table, you remember we need to go back. Let me get rid of all of this. We need to go back to our database, or weather database, right? Because remember, this is the skeleton that's created for our database, and we need to add that class, or rather that entity, right? Which is a class, of course. So I'm going to say unity or unit. Make sure, again, this is another thing about naming. Make sure that we get our unit, not the Kotlin unit. This is our model class unit, okay? And make sure that's a class like this. Now, before we do anything else, what's going to happen, because we've changed the skeleton structure, okay, of our database room instantiation here, we will have to change a few things. Well, one thing really, we're going to change the version. That way, when this database, because we'll have to recompile and recreate it in the background, we are going to override everything and create this unit class along the way as well. So change that to a higher number than what we had before. If you had 5, then change that to 6. Okay, very good. So now that we have this table, unit table that we created here, entity, we need to go do the same thing we did with our favorite, which is we need to add into our DAO and into our repository. Okay, let's go back to, and here we created all of these, right, CRUD operations and so forth for our favorite. So now I'm going to create the same thing for our unit table per se. So it's going to be pretty much the same, except a few changes there. So let's copy this, and I'm going to do just a few that we're going to be using because the concept is the same and you can always do it yourself. So for this one, it's going to be, I think, settings table. There we go. And instead of get favorites, this is going to be get units, like this, flow list of unit objects. Again, make sure we don't get the Kotlin, we get our unit here. So you can see that is our model class. That's very important. And then I'm just going to copy and add it here again, because it's the same thing really. And it's not unit Kotlin, it's going to be unit. Again, be very careful, we get the correct unit. While I'm here, let's just get everything really. That's fine. Again, make sure not Kotlin unit, our unit. That's what happens when you paste and copy and paste. Okay, so insert unit, update unit, get units. Let's get delete all units. Okay, that's very simple. And if we want to delete one unit, we can do so as well. Okay, I think that's enough for us. It's going to be unit, our type unit, like this. Okay, so we add that into our weather DAO. Very good. Now, we need to go to our repository, weather repository, WeatherDB repository, that is. And what I'm going to do here, make this larger for now, since we're not running anything. I'm going to copy and get the other ones. There we go. I need to change because I'm copying and pasting. Make sure we get the right unit. All right, let's see. We're not going to use that update, but that's okay. We're going to do that anyway. And unit. Okay, delete all units. Unit, our unit, like that. Okay, that's fine. Again, I'm copying and pasting and not explaining much because if you have been following us, this is not, something new. We've done this before, and you can just go back to previous videos if you are not remembering what we've done. Next thing, we need to create a settings view model, right? So, new Kotlin class, settings view model. So again, it's going to be exactly the same as favorite settings, right? Or view model, I should say. Make sure these units are actually our units first. Oh, unit. Okay. Sometimes okay, that's fine if it wants to do that. I'm just gonna add all those units. That way we don't run into issues. And this coroutine here, let's start over, repository.get units, distinct until changed. Collect, there we go. Now it's showing. All right, so now I'm going to just get all of that code so we don't have to go through the same thing. A list of units. And make sure, yes, this unit here, again, is probably getting, see, should have probably named something differently, something different instead of unit. Okay, let's just change to our unit and life should be good. Looks like now I don't have to pass all of that redundant junk. All right, so just a few things that we have to change here and there. But again, as you see here, really I don't need to explain everything again because everything is looking the same. Because everything is the same thing that we did with our favorite repository. Okay, so we're just mirroring the same thing. All right, so in this case now, if we go to our settings screen, And instead of just passing nav controller, now we can also pass our settings, view model, and I'm going to say it's going to be a HILT view model as such. And let's make this a scaffold. Pass the top bar. Okay. All right, so we've created our settings view model and part of our settings screen. All right, so we'll come back to that. This video is getting a little bit too long, but there we go. So at this point, let's go ahead and run. Of course, we're not going to see really anything new, but we want to make sure that nothing breaks, because that's very important. And in the next video, we are going to tackle the settings screen so that hopefully it looks something like this. It's very simple. We can do that. But let's run first. Okay, so everything is still looking good. All right, you can see now because we wiped the database, now we don't have anything in our favorites, which is fine. We're just testing things around anyway. So now we can save again San Diego, add it to favorites, go to favorites, we should see San Diego, click on San Diego, it gets San Diego again. All right, so very good. Nothing broke. The database just went and wiped itself out because we changed the versioning to say that we added something new. That's fine. Very good. Everything is good. So we're ready then to look at the settings screen to make it so that it looks like this. And then we can save the settings so we can change the measurement, right? Unit of measurements, Celsius or Fahrenheit.